من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعد تفرقا ساميا معصوما. اللهم لا تجعل فينا شقيا ولا محروما ولا مطرودا ولا معذبا بنار برحمتك يا عزيز الغفار. اللهم علمنا ما جهلنا وذكرنا ما نسينا وفقهنا في ديننا واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين. اللهم نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. آمين. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the first session of the Fiqh Essential course. And we have chosen a simple book in Fiqh al-Imam Malik. First of all, when you hear the word Fiqh al-Imam Malik, it doesn't mean that fiqh it's established and ended, and from A to Z, that's only the Imam Malik, saying. No, it's a school of thought. There are a lot of scholars contribute to that, established by the Imam, and the Imam actually he was known for those, ara and those opinions, and not necessarily that comes from him, because from the collection of his imams, like his shuyukh, his teachers, and those teachers learn from Sahaba, and they learn from the Prophet ﷺ. So that's what they have to choose in some particular masail. We do not say that's his madhab, that he has a saying in every single aspect of fiqh. No, this is not something that possible. So he might have chosen actually among the opinion was there at the time from his shuyukh and from what they learned from Sahaba, and that's how he conveyed and and taught his student, and that built that fiqh and that school of thought. And his student, those they follow his manhaj and his method and his usul, where how he was building his fatwa, because there is a procedure, something they consider, something they not consider. So those they follow same rules that he built and he start with, they contribute to the madhab. You get the point? That's why sometimes in one particular issue you find different opinions. So it's not necessarily that's the opinion of the Imam, even the opinion of the scholars, within that school of thought. So that hopefully that will be understood. So that's what same things we'll say about madhab al-Shafi'i or madhab al-Hanbali or madhab Imam Hanifa, or and so on. So something we have to understand: the madhab is not limited to those four. Some people they think it's only those four. No, the A'imma al-Mujtahideen, there are 13 and even more. Those are called mujtahid mutlaq. So there are some scholars called mujtahid muqayyad within the madhab, within the fatwa. And there's other mujtahid mutlaq, he is the imam by himself. You can say he established his school of thought. And you can say has his own usul and rules that are unique, belong to him. So there are many of them. For example, Imam Shafi'i said, Al-Laythu afqahu min Malikin illa anna ashabahu dayya'uh. Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. There's one scholar, a great scholar. He was a scholar in Egypt, and his madhab was being followed by those people at the time. But he said he has fiqh more than Imam Malik, and his students have not carried out his opinions. Illa anna ashabahu dayya'uh. Imam Awza'i, for over 200 years in Sham, people only practicing according to the fiqh of Imam al-Awza'i. So do not just think that's only the school of thought that's limited to four. However, those four, school of thought, that almost we know everything about, their opinions and their manhaj, their method, their usul, very clear, munaqqaha, murattaba. So it's something all ummah, accepted and being reviewed and being, clear, knowing what's the usul, that they build their manhaj and their method, on them. So something that, just keep in mind. So first of all, it's not limited to those, four school of thought. And the word madhab of the imam doesn't mean that it started with the imam and ended by imam. No, there are other contributions from other scholars that into that, fiqh. Am I clear? Yes. Now, when the scholars started, how they start? They didn't start with studying all of them. No. That's a wrong start. You cannot say I'm going to start. So what's the opinion of Imam Malik in this particular mas'ala? What's the opinion of Imam Shafi'i in this mas'ala? It's not the way. So that's a wrong start. They study with one school of thought, and then that's fine. They can study the others. They study comparative, fiqh, and they compare between all, and they study all of those, opinion. You get the point? So this is something has to be understood. How they started with one particular fiqh, regardless, all are respected. You start with one of them, and you study that. After you study that and you kind of mastered or be well versed about it, or at least is familiar with it, then you can learn other ones, and then you can have the comparison in between. That's how it started. Otherwise, you cannot reach your goal, and you'll be mixing between all of those opinions. So you have to be clear about this. This is how they start. Very similar, not that much, but very similar to when they study Quran. They study reading Quran. You're gonna say, what? I'm gonna study all Qira'at. No, master one riwayah, and then you can go to the others. Just a way for learning. I'm not comparing between Qira'at and Fiqh. No, but just the manhaj, the method, how you learn. When you learn, that's how it starts. To start knowledge with one particular aspect, one particular school, and then you can learn, all of other ones. That's how it works. Now somebody would say, why all of that? Why not starting from Quran and Sunnah? First of all, this question contains accusation for those imams, as if those imams have not started with the Quran and Sunnah. No, the imams, they come up with those opinions based on Quran and Sunnah. You get my point? So that's first of all of those imams are imams Ahlul Sunnah, and those imams, they well versed with the Quran and Sunnah. So they come up, with those opinions from Quran and Sunnah. So do not think of that. Second, when you say, why not studying from Quran and Sunnah, as if you are giving yourself kind of hierarchy or high position over those imams. As if you are saying, my understanding of Quran and Sunnah better than understanding of Quran and Sunnah. No. When we are following, we are not following those shuyukh as themselves, but we following their understanding of Quran and Sunnah. And no doubt, their understanding of Quran and Sunnah better than our understanding of Quran and Sunnah. So when I say this is the opinion of Imam Malik, because somebody said, Qala Malik, so why you not tell me Qala Rasulullah? See, when I say Qala Malik, doesn't mean I'm neglecting the word of Rasulullah, but Imam Malik, he looked at the words of Rasulullah, all the hadith, he looked at the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he summarized to me in that simple rules. Yes, you can ask based on what he made his opinion. And then that's a good conversation. Then I will tell you, yes, he made his opinion based on that hadith, based on that ayah, and that's how he understood it. Or based on other evidence. Because evidence are not limited to Quran and Sunnah, by the way. Quran and Sunnah, Ijma', Qiyas, and Qiyas different, types. So it's not limited to that. And somebody said, why is that differences? Okay, I'll tell you. For example, Imam Malik considered what we call Ijma' Ahl al-Madinah. Other scholars, regardless they agree or not, but they have no access to that like Imam Malik he does. Because Imam Malik, he lived all his life in Medina. And he left only for Hajj. And he met with all of his scholars in Medina. And he studied the knowledge of people of Medina. He knew the knowledge of the Tabi'een and the Sahaba, those that grew up in Medina. So he was familiar with that and was well versed with this. And he considered, you know what, the people of Medina, that if they agreed on something, why not follow it? Because that's, for him, it's more authentic, just one narration. Because he think, you know, those people are known for their piety, and they're not going to all agreed on something that against the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ. And still pure society and close by to the Prophet ﷺ time. So for him, that's a stronger opinion than what you might think. So they told him, for example, about what's called tarji' in the adhan. When the muaddin after will say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, he will say not that loud the shahada. And then he will declare the shahada out loud. So after Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, he will say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And after that, he will raise his voice with the shahada. So that part, they said to him, where's the hadith of this? He said to him, that's for me a stronger, the action of the people of Medina and how they do their adhan, stronger for me than even you making one single narration. However, the scholars followed that and they found narrations that mention the tarji' and al-adhan, mention this. But just to let you know that he considers in some of masail based on this. So because he considered based on that, other scholars have no access to this, you know, they might have differences on those masail and those particular issues that Imam Malik built his opinion on that, in that asl, in that one of his main sources, one of his sources. Okay, so it's very important we have that understanding how all of those, you know, fiqh, you know, and school of thought established. And inshallah, we are going to offer one course called Tarikh al-Tashri' al-Islami. The history, how those school of thought established, that's very important to understand. Before we start, when we offering in fiqh al-Imam Malik, we are not saying that everything, you know, said the Imam Malik, it's acceptable and correct, and all others, you know, it's wrong. No. That's wrong. التعصب للأئمة والتعصب ضد الأئمة wrong. So we are not just saying, you know what, that's what we're suggesting, and that's what we're offering. This is the haq, that's what you should follow, and neglect others. This is not the point. No, this is not the point. This is how we start learning and you know, exploring in all of those knowledge, and we assuming they are trying their best and trying to reach the haq, you know. But if we found any mas'ala in any particular issue, other imam, his opinion is stronger and supported with a stronger evidence, and after we grow in the fiqh and understanding, then at that time, yes, you know, we should not say, you know, oh, that's my school of thought, that's how it started, I should stick with that. No. You go with the haq wherever the haq resides. Okay? So, we say sometimes word fiqh, and we don't understand exactly the word fiqh, what fiqh is. From Arabic language, mean understanding. قالوا ما نفقه كثيرا مما تقول. Was used in the Quran for the argument for the people of Prophet Yunus. Is that right? When they said to him, قالوا ما نفقه كثيرا مما تقول وإن لنراك فينا ضعيفا. So they accuse him that they say, oh, you know what, we don't understand much of what you are saying. So they use the word fiqh. Fiqh means understanding. But now we're talking about a particular term. Fiqh, so you understand what? Okay? So it's related to ahkam amaliyah. You know, related to specific rules that relate to ibadah, you know, to muamala. Okay? Yes. So it's something particular. However, Imam Abu Hanifa, when he will say fiqh, he will include even aqidah. How it is possible? Aqidah is a fiqh? Yeah, al-fiqh al-akbar. So the book, you know, there's one book, Nusti by Imam Abu Hanifa, they called al-fiqh al-akbar. Al-fiqh al-akbar, he meant aqidah. Because he will say the fiqh, different definition for fiqh. Al-fiqh, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, معرفة النفس ما لها وما عليها. To know everything that what for you and what you should do. What what your rights and your duties. To know all your rights and your duties. That's including that fiqh, of practice, and fiqh of faith, which means aqidah. So he called it fiqh al-akbar wal fiqh al-asghar. According to him, the prime, fiqh, it's aqidah. That's according to him. And then the other one, the secondary one, that to know the ibadat and muamalat. Am I clear? So I felt this is important introduction and we have to do. Now I choose mukhtasar, a simple book, a summary. And this book called Mukhtasar al-Allama al-Akhdari, that's only for ibadat. It has only introduction, very simple introduction, very few words. ما يجب على المكلف, what's must for the person to know. And then he mentioned quickly what's the things that he should avoid, the person what he should avoid. And then he started with the tahara and salah, and that's it. And in salah, he make it very simple, and the only chapter that he had kind of like, details in it, that's sujood al-sahw. That's the only maybe chapter that he has details in this, even compared with other books. He has more details than some of other, books, that in the second level of fiqh. So this is like a basic level, very simple level, and that's why we choose it. Even for those they have studied in the past, it's not wrong to review all of that and build on this. And that's how the scholars started, with sullam, like a ladder. It's better to take it step by step. Not necessarily you should follow that, sullam. You could, if you have some knowledge, you could, go to the second level, third level. That's fine. But it's better if you have himmah to have it all together, step by step, and you build on that. ترتب المسائل وترتب الأفكار. It's very important that you take it gradually. And they said من علامة الخسارة أن تبدأ بابن عاشر قبل الأخضري والرسالة قبل ابن عاشر وخليل قبل الرسالة. The scholars, they made like a level, for example, in Fiqh Imam Malik. Almost you can say all of them agreed that's the first level. You start with it, Al-Akhdari. And then, they go to Ibn Ashir. And then some of them, they go to Al-Azziyah. And some of them, they skip it to Al-Risala, Ibn Abi Zayd Al-Qayrawani. And then, they go to, some of them, they go to Aqrab al-Masalik, and some of them, they go even to Ashal al-Masalik, before that. That's Nadam li Sheikh Bashar, Mohamed Bashar. It's 1,000 lines of poems about fiqh. And some of them, they go Aqrab al-Masalik, and they choose one of the sharh, like a sharh al-Saghir lil-Dirdir. And then they go one of the top, they call Mukhtasar Khalil. Mukhtasar Khalil. Some they go like to the Mudawwana. It's not that easy to read from it. And then other books. So they go, there's a levels. So there are groups. There are groups of books, that's first level. One of those, Mukhtasar al-Akhdari. And there's others in intermediate, you can say. Among that, Risala. And there is other ones, advanced. Like Aqrab al-Masalik or Mukhtasar Khalil. Okay? So, there are levels of fiqh. That's in every school of thought. When you start, like learning the Imam Shafi'i, for example, fiqh, they start with a simple book, like Matan Abi Shuja'. Yes? That's the first level, that they start with that one, and then they go further and further. So we are not going to go and talk about all details. No, we're going to deal with the book according to the level of the book. However, we'll accept any discussion if you want a further discussion about any mas'ala. So we're not going to go higher. And one of the reasons, as we all be in the same page, starting from the that level, from that level, because we want to build that strength of fiqh. And at the same time, there are some jawahir, some benefits, some gems in this book, even first level, not even other books. SubhanAllah. Every book has benefits. Especially as I said to you, Sujood al-Sahw, he discussed in a way, not even the book of Risala discussed it. And the book of Risala is intermediate. This is a beginner. But he discussed the Sujood al-Sahw in a way was not even found in the book of Risala. So it's always there's a benefit of that. And on other reasons, because it's 18 pages or so, so it's good to start with it to motivate you, to get the barakah of completion the book, and accomplishment, that will open your shahiyah, motivate you to go to other level and other level, be nice, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? You might ask why I choose Madhab al-Imam Malik, to study in this, First of all, I will choose, what I'm more familiar with it than other ones. So when I started with the Madhab al-Imam Malik, so I could teach you other fiqh. I studied the comparative, fiqh, fiqh al-Muqaran, but I'm not going to be well versed in all others as, I studied Imam Malik, fiqh. That's one thing. Second, you might argue with this, but I believe it's more practical in the West, in many masail, especially about tahara for Madhab al-Imam Malik. And you will notice that in many masail. It's more, practical. If you study, for example, fiqh al-Imam al-Shafi'i or others, especially in tahara, sometimes it's hard to practice it, here. Example of that, what Imam Malik said about the saliva of the dog. For example, Imam Malik, he said, it doesn't count as an impurity. No, it's a pure. Now, in every place that you go, there's a doubt, there's a dog that was there. Even in the building that's no bed, or hotels, no bed, the dog is there. You'll find it. Either people sneaked, or the guide dog, or the police dog. Because here, there's no place where the police dog, they cannot enter. They can enter any place, by the way. And the guide, dog, by law, they can enter any shop and any place. So for those are blind, they help them. So, for example, it will be hard, always going to be a doubt, when you say this impurity, because it could be anywhere. You will sit in a park, it was there. Maybe you saw it, maybe it came close to you, maybe you're at elevator, you're coming to Salah, you find over there. So always you're going to be precautious, a little bit hard for you. That's just an example. An example of that Imam Shafi'i, even you touch your wife, that invalidates your wudu. Just you touch it, According to Imam Shafi'i. It's hard. Now you're at the door, you made wudu and you come into the masjid and somehow you touch your wife, maybe you give her something or touch her or something, you're going to repeat the wudu again, It's a little bit hard to practice, that's what I'm saying. I found it like a more, practical, for fiqh al-Imam Malik in many masail of tahara and salah and many other things. But do not consider this. It's just a personal, observation. And as I said, you might argue with this or having kind of debate. And I'm just, presenting that as one of the personal reasons why, I suggested that we started, with fiqh al-Imam Malik. And also, I love Imam Malik himself. There is a great love for me, for Imam Malik. So it's a good connection that we know, those scholars. And let's talk a little bit about it. Imam Malik, he was a tall man, white, bald, He has white hair and a little bit blonde, has thick beard, and that's, as a description of him. He was the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah, an Imam of Hadith. Now when you say Imam of Hadith, he really was special. So there are some Imams, they were known for fiqh only, like Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, or some Imams are known more for Hadith, like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Some Imams known for fiqh and usul al-fiqh, like, Imam Shafi'i. Imam Malik, known for Hadith and fiqh. He kind of a person that mastered both and reached the highest level of that. And he was Amir al-Mu'mineen fil Hadith and Amir al-Mu'mineen fil Fiqh. So he combined, both aspects. And that's, something unique about him. Imams at that time praise him. With Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam al-Zuhri, or others. They said nice word about him. Then you can go about that when how they talk about, Imam Malik. In fact, there is hadith that Rasulullah said, يكاد الناس يبقرون بطون الإبل يطلبون العلم فلا يجدون إلا عالم أهل المدينة. People, they will go traveling, like, to the point that the distance, it's hard for camels. That means they come from far away, and they are seeking knowledge, and they couldn't find somebody like the scholar of Ahlul Madinah, the Imam. And when the ulama, they study this hadith, you can say all of them agreed that's hadith referred to Imam Malik. And people came from him from Spain, from North Africa, from Middle East, from other places, seeking Imam Malik. So, he was known for that. And he was known for the Imam Ahlul Sunnah. And by the way, when they say Sunnah, they mean at that time, they mean not hadith, they mean aqidah. When they mean aqidah, like when they say Kitabu as-Sunnati, for Imam Ahmad, for example, they mean the Kitabu al-Aqidati. Sometimes they mean aqidah, aqidah, they refer to Sunnah, so he was known even for his pure of the aqidah and knowledge of aqidah. And he was known for his, hadith. And by the way, have you heard about the Silsila al-Dhahabiyya? The golden chain. Golden chain. An Malikin, an Nafi'in, an Ibn Umar. That's a golden chain. That's the most authentic chain of narrations. And then the second golden chain, an Shafi'i, an Malikin, an Nafi'in, an Ibn Umar. The third golden chain, an Ahmad ibn Hanbal, an Shafi'i, an Malikin, an Nafi'in, an Ibn Umar. These are the most authentic chains. That's why they called it golden chains of hadith. Okay? So he was known for the hadith and for his narrations. And he was accepted by all for his narrations and his knowledge. And how he even learned from his Sheikh عن نافع عن مالك عن نافع عن مولى عن نافع, that's Mawla ibn Umar, Nafi', Nafi' the Qari. Do not get confused. قالون عن نافع, that's a different Nafi'. Okay? So this is the other Nafi'. So Imam Malik, by the way, his name Malik ibn Anas ibn Amir al-Asbuhi. His grandfather was from Yemen, came from Yemen. And his grandfather was one of those 6 Sahaba. They buried Imam Uthman radiallahu anhu at night, at the time of the fitna. So his grandfather was there. So he's not tabi'i, by the way, Imam Malik. He's not tabi'i. No. He's from tabi'in. Some they said he's tabi'i. He met one of the Sahaba when he was young. No, but the conclusion of that after deep study, no, he's not among tabi'in. He's from tabi'in. The only tabi'i among those 4, Imam Abu Hanifa. He's tabi'i. He met with the Sahaba. So some of his teachers are Sahaba. But Imam Malik, his teachers are tabi'in. He's from tabi'in. Okay? So he was born, what year? 93. 93 of Hijrah. So it's very close, yes? You know? So 83 after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, yes? So, and he died in 178. So he lived for long, yes? Rahmatullahi alayhi wa ala baqiyati al-a'immati. So Imam Malik, he used to go to his Sheikh and he will wait for him at noontime when he will go out for Dhuhr prayer, and he will wait for him and he will go to him, can you tell me about Hadith ibn Umar? And you know, he will try, you know, his best, because he was known a little bit tough. You know, Imam Nafi', no any person will take a hadith from him. So he, mashallah, he gathered many hadith, you know, of him, and he narrated those hadiths. And he tried to get any opportunity. He would go to Imam Shihab al-Zuhri, Imam Shihab al-Zuhri, at the time of Eid. He was after the prayer Eid. He said, you know what? This is perfect time. I think no many students they will go and bother Imam. Let's, you know, try to find way to him. And he will go and he will wait at his door. And Imam, he will have sent somebody at the door. He will ask who is there. He was told that Imam Malik, and he said, okay, come. And he offered food for him. Say, I never came for food. I came to learn from you. Can you give me a hadith? So he said, okay, start writing. And he wrote 40 hadith with a chain of narrations. Okay, he said, that will be enough for you. If you learn this, you'll be alim, you'll be imam. So he said, I already know it. Said, okay, yeah, give me all your all your papers. You know, give me. I start now. And he started saying them one after one. One after one, with no mistake. He said, you are a wi'a of ilm, like a container of knowledge. You know, so all his imams, you know, praising him for his dedication and for his patience and for his knowledge. He collected the first book of hadith, the first collections of hadith that reach us. It might be there is before that, as a Sahif al-Sadiqa, that Abdullah ibn Amr, he wrote it in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. They said it maybe contained 1,000 hadith or something like that, but it's not exist. The first book of hadith that reached to us, that's the book of Imam Malik called Al-Muwatta. Have you heard about this? Imam al-Shafi'i at that time, he said, أصح كتاب بعد كتاب الله كتاب مالك. The most authentic book after the book of Allah is the book of Imam Malik. At that time was no Bukhari and Muslim. And at the same time, Bukhari and Muslim almost, you can say, included all of the hadith that Imam Malik mentioned in his book. So if somebody will memorize that Bukhari and Muslim, he need maybe few hadith, and he will know even the Muwatta as well. And also nowadays, people, maybe they didn't consider that as the most authentic book after the book of Allah, because Imam Malik not only limited the book for a hadith, he added some of his opinion and some of his saying in there. Okay? There are around 600 hadiths only in that book, and some of that, there's addition for some of his statement and comment. Called Muwatta. You know why it was named Muwatta? You know what's Muwatta? That means agreed upon. وَطَأَهُ عَلَيْهِ وَافَقَهُ عَلَيْهِ. Agreed upon by 70 of Tabi'een. 70 scholars of Tabi'een. Agreed on that book. So even if you see some of the hadith that has weak narrations in the Muwatta al-Imam Malik, do not jump to say that's a weak hadith. Because the terminology of hadith, Mustarah hadith, was not that established at that time. And those imams at that time, like Imam Malik, Imam Hassan al-Basri, when they say this is the sunnah, he doesn't have to mention the narrations. Because he will never say this is the sunnah unless he 100% he is sure about it. So he will convey to you even without the chain of narration. Actually, sometimes when convey for you the chain of narration, he might not even 100% that it is authentic, as when he will say this is the sunnah. And that's why there are scholars after, like Imam al-Daraqutni and Imam, like other Imams, they came and they follow what Imam Malik wrote, and they connected all of the hadith that Imam Malik mentioned in his book of Muwatta. So they found the narration, the chain of narration for the hadith that he didn't include the narrations and the chain of narration in there. You get to my point? Yes. So Imam Daraqutni, Imam, what's that? No. There are some scholars followed the book of Imam Malik narrations. You know, Ibn Abd al-Barr, the Imam Ibn Abd al-Barr, في كتاب التمهيد لما في موطأ المالك من الأسانيد. So he looked at all of the hadith and he found all of the narrations, you know, and he came up with the result. All of those hadith are acceptable narration and are authentic. Just, you know, for your knowledge. So he is an imam of hadith, and he is an imam of fiqh. As I said, people, they coming to him, asking him, you know, about his opinion, and they cut, you know, distance. They come from Spain, as I said, from North Africa, from Egypt, from other places, you know, seeking knowledge of Imam Malik. Okay, so that's one of other reasons. You know, as I said, I have a person in attachment and love, you know, to Imam Malik. So we said it's good to connect ourselves with those great imams and learn, you know, from them with the respect, and not saying, oh, whatever they will say is authentic and correct. No, we keep that in mind. We respect, you know, what they are doing. Somebody will say, you know what? Oh, let me just go back to Quran and Sunnah and extract knowledge. You know what gonna do that person? He will gonna have the fifth madhab, you know, and that fifth madhab, it's mixed with all. He will come with the same opinion, but some of this and that, and that's not even have usul and dawabit and qawa'id. It's not built on the structure. You get the point? Because if he has knowledge and he's, you know, really sincere, he will come with the same result as they did, but will be not consistent and not structured. You get the point? So what you are doing, you're making mess. You're not actually making knowledge. So we should learn that way, how we, you know, get the benefit from Quran and Sunnah with this way. I hope that will be clear. Any questions so far? Yes, Aus. Yes. So it was knowing that لا يفتى ومالك في المدينة, and that has many stories, you know. And yeah, he reached a level of iftā. They mentioned many stories. Some of it, it's a little bit exaggerated. Some of it's authentic. And one of the stories that he was raised by his mother, and his mother like really put a lot into him, and she encouraged him. And they mentioned that his father was not in the picture, and one time he came and he found a young boy teaching in the Medina mosque. And he doesn't know that was his son. Yeah, subhanAllah. And that was Imam Malik, he was there, yeah. So he was among those, they grew up, you know, in knowledge, and he was given fatwa even at the young age. And that actually has to do with our current system. Our current system killing the talent, to be honest. Regardless of your level, you have to follow the same system. Sometimes it's hard to skip a grade. They do that very rarely. And the smart person will be bored. You know, he doesn't have interest because it's a piece of cake for him. He knows all of that. We even have to study it. And we even have to study subject. It's not that important for me. I will never even gonna need it in my life. I study engineering, and many of the subjects I tell you, even engineering, 5 years of engineering, that you're never gonna even study or like benefit from it in your work. like when you go for a practical work. And actually, in your practical work, some of them, the all years of engineering and studying, they're not going to benefit from that. They study other courses or other seminars. They will, they be focusing on that. So why I waste my time and talent and energy studying something not important? So, but those scholars, how they grow up fast in their fiqh, because there is a focus. Okay, Quran, there's a sequence after that. Fiqh, there's a sequence of this, and you focus on this. So you maximize the benefit and use the best use of time. Okay, and then each one based in his ability. So you go faster based on your ability. I don't have to be tight according to my age to that class or to that level. And I didn't even have to be tight to study all of that unnecessary courses for me. I have to focus on something that's important for me. You get the point? So the system at that time is encouraging people to grow in knowledge faster than our time. And that's why more successful to study the traditional way than to study with the other way. This is like traditional way in masajid and all of this. It's better than just the structured way that how they study it. One of my Sheikh, they asked him, from which university you have graduated? He told them, تخرجت من الجامع وليس من الجامعة وليس الذكر كالأنثى. He was, I don't know you get this joke or not. Do you get it? Sometimes it's hard to get the joke in Arabic, yes? There's one time a Sheikh was giving a lecture, and after he finished, a person from audience stood up and he was very upset. He said, this gentleman, the one he was giving translation, he was not fair. He was not giving good translation. The Sheikh asked him, said, do you know the language? Do you know the Arabic language? So he was doing a good job or not? He said, no, I don't know. But when you were talking in Arabic, I counted 15 jokes. But when in English, he said only 7. Subhanallah. So not every joke you can translate, is that right? So how can I translate this one? Sheikh told him, I graduated from Jamia. And Jamia, it's a masculine word. And Jamia, it's a feminine word. Jamia is a masjid. And Jamia is a university. Jamia. You get the point? So Jamia is in Arabic, it's a masculine. The mosque is a masculine. And university is a feminine. So, and he told him, I graduated from Jamia, and the masculine is not similar to feminine. He quoted the ayah that mother of Mary said it, the female is not equal to the male. So he just, linking on that, he's just making a joke, with this. I don't know. It's a bad joke in English. You need to know the Arabic background and you get it. So here now, I hope that will be clear and answer some of your questions. Why we're starting with this book and why we started with Imam Malik Fiqh and why all of that. And just given just as an introduction. So we are studying, inshallah, Mukhtasar Al-Akhdari. Akhdari, his name Abdul Rahman ibn Mohamed Al-Akhdari, Al-Jazairi. He's from North Africa, particularly from Jazair. And his book, very, very simple, as I said. That's why, we are starting with that. Let's start and begin. Al-Barakah, we don't have much time, but let's start with this, Bismillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He starts by saying, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi, nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Okay, why scholars starting with this statement? It's obvious, yes? Why is starting with this? You find, most of them, they start with Basmala and with Hamd and with Salah al Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And sometimes even they conclude with Hamd and Salah as well. Okay, so they started as the way even the Quran started with Basmala and Hamd. Quran started with Basmala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So that's how they learn, this. And also, in their mind, the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ, that every deed that has not started with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that will be cut off. And another narration does not start with Alhamdulillah, then it will be cut off. In one narration, Ajzam, that the nose will be cut off. It will be ugly. It's not that, the best. So, by the way, that hadith, it's weak hadith. But it's supported, by many hadiths, so it will be acceptable. As a narration, it's weak, but many other hadiths are all collectively that acceptable narration. That's one thing. Second, the Quran itself started with this, so that's isti'nas. That's a sign those hadith are acceptable. So from that point as well. So that's most of the scholars start with alhamd, with basmala and alhamd, and also they add salah ala nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's common, you will see. And we should learn that when we make a speech, when we talk, when we write, it's good to start with this. It's a blessing actually. Start with basmala, with alhamd, with the salah, bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. أما بعد فإن الفقه في دين الله تعالى من أجل الطاعات وأفضل القربات. Okay, let me actually pass this because this is introduction not for the Sheikh. The Sheikh, he said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad khatam al-Nabiyyin wa Imam al-Mursaleen. Okay, and he started أول ما يجب على المكلف. أول ما يجب على المكلف. So if you want to put the title on this, the primary obligations for a Muslim. So that's how Imam started. أول ما يجب على المكلف. Who can read the English part? You have the English part, yes? Yes. So the primary obligations, yes. So the first obligation upon, yes, an adult. Oh, you're reading a different one. That's fine. Yeah, continue. You have to have sound faith. And yes, to know how to properly carry out individual obligations like the judgment regarding the prayer, purification, and fasting. Okay, who have the other translation? You don't have it? Okay. So the first obligation upon an adult is the correction of his faith. Then acquiring knowledge of that which is incumbent for the proper performance of his personal duties, such as the rules governing salah, ritual prayer, tahara, ritual purification, and siyam, fasting. I like this translation better. You like this one better? Yeah, we'll consider this one. That's actually better translation. So let's say أول ما يجب على المكلف. المكلف، من هو المكلف؟ المكلف هو العاقل المسلم العاقل البالغ. Is that right? So العاقل البالغ. So the one عاقل, you know عاقل? The one like this saint, you can say, where he's functioning well, he's aware of this surrounding and he's awake, of himself. So عاقل, يعقل. Now the difference between the aqil, the saint, and the crazy person, the crazy one, he will imagine something in front of him, like as if there's a game, and he starts, oh, you shoot the ball, you do this, and nothing in front of him, because he's imagining something not in the reality. The aqil says, no, that's wrong, it's not in there. So he has the aqil, he has the aqil. You know what aqil is? The intellect, the ability of thinking, that's a aql. You get my point? Yes. Any comment for this, Hisham? What's the best way for the aql? Has the sensibility? Sense of sensibility. Yeah. That's even more academic term. Yes. So aql. So aql is very important. That's why the Prophet said, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمُ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ. There's no accountability for those three. And he mentioned one of them, المجنون حتى يفيق. Yes, so majnoon, that a person has no sense of sensibility. Yes, that person will know, he's not going to be questioned, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never ask him for any obligation. That's a first. The obligation, you need that. And yeah. Oh, you want to mention the other ones? Yeah, وعن الصبي حتى يبلغ حتى يحتلم وعن النائم حتى يستيقظ. So the other two, the young boy until he will reach the age of puberty, and the one is sleeping until he wake up. Okay, so those they have excuses, either permanent excuses or temporary one. So the one has a permanent excuse, the one has no ability to think in a normal way. Okay, so has that deficiency. You get the point? So this is aql. Aql, it's important. The intellect, that's really important. Will no taklif unless you have the ability to think in the right way. Okay. So that's the first condition. The second condition, al-bulugh. He has to reach the age of a puberty. That's different from the age of reasoning. The age of reasoning to call tamyiz, mumayyiz. He knows the right and wrong, but that's not tabligh, not bulugh. Bulugh has to be a certain age. How we know bulugh? For men we know the bulugh with what? Bil-mani. Bil-mani. Khuruj al-mani. And the main sign for bulugh for boys, the wet dream. Okay, so that's something you keep in mind. And for girls, that's starting for her menses, hayd. Okay, so that's for the girls. That's the main sign. وكل تكليف بشرط العقل مع البلوغ بدم أو حمل أو بمني أو بإنبات الشعر أو ب18 حولا ظهر. So the main sign for men, the wet dream; for women, the menses. However, there's other signs. The growth of the hair in under armpit and in the top of the legs. The شعر العانة, the pop, hair, yes. The pubic hair, the شعر العانة, or the one under armpit, yes. And many other signs. And if all of those signs never appear, then by age. The maximum, it's 18. After 18, don't nobody say, no, none of those signs came, so I will continue with no taklif. No, will be. So in the stop age. Because sometimes there is some kind of illness or problems with the hormones, with other things, so none of those signs will appear. So we'll give it time until the age of 18. That's, the maximum. And then regardless, has to establish all of these obligations. There are some other side signs we'll talk about later. It's not this our book, but some of that signs. It's important for the parent to know. They called غلد الصوت وخيط الرقبة ريحة الإبطين وفلق الأرنبة. That's maybe later we can explain those ones. That's for the teachers and for the parent to know that person he's baligh or not. غلد الصوت, the voice will change for boys. He start talking normally and then all of a sudden, this. That's a sign. Okay, no. And the girls will be softer. They're, I don't know how they talk. It will be soft, You know, and that's one sign. And khaytul raqaba, there's a test we can say, you know, maybe later, you bend the rope around your neck, and then they bite it in their teeth. If it goes through their head, then that's the sign they reach that age. Otherwise, not. That, you know, you can do that as a parent. And ra'ihatul ibtayni, the smell that comes, especially after the gym class. Yeah. And farqul urnaba. Here, if you touch here, that for the baligh is split. For the one who's not in there, it's one piece. For the one who's baligh, it's a two pieces. Yes, under here. The one is not here, it's here. Yeah, it's a two pieces. So that's another side signs for the bulugh. But the main ones we just mentioned. However, do not say, you know what, because of I have not reached the age of bulugh, it's not important for me to learn those rules. No. Learning, it's important. You have to prepare yourself for that sin of taklif. Before reach that, you should know their obligation. It's not when you started taklif and then start learning. So how can I pray? No, you should know that before reaching that. So ما هو التكليف؟ التكليف هو طلب ما فيه كلفة. Taklif, that to request something that's not that easy for human. كلفة فيه مشقة. مشقة, that's hardship, it's doable. معتادة is something that's not beyond your capacity, but it's a little bit hard. Like salah, it's not that easy to commit for the 5 daily prayers, especially on time, in the masjid, in the bad weathers, and siyam and all of other things. You know, it's like, you know, something not that easy. So there is طلب ما فيه كلفة. التكليف طلب ما فيه كلفة. Somebody will say, you know, that's a little bit hard. That's meant to be, but not beyond your capacity. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. How it's going to be a test if it's easy and you come forward to do it with no difficulties? So this is part of it and part of the test. So here it said the first obligation upon an adult, you know, he used the word adult, but it's not necessarily adult, like, you know, it's, could be, but mukallaf. Mukallaf, as I said, started sometimes even early ages. Nowadays, maybe 13 in the average of it. And believe it or not, the number of girls reached that age of taklif at the age of 8 and 9 are increasing. This Ramadan, I received calls from 2 or 3 parents. This is how we can do. My daughter is just 8 years old and there are signs of bulugh. Another one said 9 years old and a sign of bulugh. How even make it for her to fast the whole Ramadan? See? You know why is that? The hormones. It's messed up. The hormones messed up. They're eating too much chicken. Yes. Be careful. The chicken, like, you know, they feed them with a lot of hormones. They inject hormones that affecting, you know, the girls. Especially if you have girls, stop feeding them chicken. You know, otherwise, they'll be too early, like, you know, having that sin, that age of bulugh. And that will be harder for them to commit for their obligations. You know, that's not easy. 13 at least, you know, kind of ready for that. But 9 years old or 8 years old, a little bit hard. So you have to be, you know, careful and be aware of that. So the first obligation upon an adult is the correction of his faith. That's the first thing. To sahih al-aqidah. You have to learn the aqidah. This is not a book of aqidah. But how we get that to know this must to correct your aqidah is from the fiqh. The fiqh will tell you this is must or not. It's must to learn the aqidah. It's not enough to be follower without understanding. The blind imitation and taqleed, it doesn't go for the aqidah. Aqidah, you have to understand it. Fiqh, for example, that's fine. You can follow, even without understanding. With those that accept Islam, and they tell them, okay, in the beginning it's better to pray behind somebody that knows. Just follow. You don't have to know how to pray. But the aqidah, don't say I'm following the aqidah. My aqidah like the aqidah of that person. No, it doesn't work like this. You have to learn and study aqidah. So the first obligation upon an adult is the correction for his faith. So inshallah, we'll continue more. This is the first line of that book, but I think it was necessary introduction, and I hope we all are the same page. And inshallah, in the coming classes, I want more interaction, please. Ask, and do not feel embarrassed. And otherwise, I'm going to ask you. If you don't ask me, I will ask you. Then I'll put you on the spot. Okay? So better that you ask me, inshallah. May Allah bless all of you, inshallah. I'm really happy that we started. And meet me at the day when we conclude. We don't want you to drop. Maybe next halaqa, how many? 20% will drop? Huh? Well, or now you're motivated more. You were more motivated now to continue and to commit for next halaqa, inshallah? Let me be honest. Let me see hands. Who attended today halaqa, and inshallah he will commit, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. MashaAllah. May Allah bless you, all of you. That will motivate me more, inshallah, to put more time into this one. May Allah bless you all. And fatahallahu alaykum wa jazakumullah khairan.